Welcome, little human. Are you enjoying your stay here? A rather adventurous experience, is it not? Really turns your whole world upside down. I'm joking, of course. You must feel awfully dizzy after dangling here for such a long time. Save your breath for now, dearie. I'm afraid you'll be staying like this for just a little while longer. Let's be honest. It was foolish of you to overlook my trap in the first place. It's made to catch animals, you see. Creatures with not much thought in their eyes. And yet it was you who triggered it. A human. Don't you people deem yourselves top of the food chain? I must say, though, this rather suits you. The snare wraps so tightly around your ankle, your arms hanging down, fingertips barely grazing the ground below, really brings out that pathetic aura that humans seem to carry with them wherever they go, even into my territory. Though I must applaud you. This is a first. You're the only person in centuries who has wandered so deeply into this forest. I'm surprised you haven't been taken care of by the wildlife around here. Surely you must have spent at least a couple of nights out here to get this far away from home. You're the lucky one, it seems. The creatures out here are very hungry. If one of them smelled you, oh, what it wouldn't do to sink its teeth into you. Believe me, dearie, you smell delicious. Fortunately for you, it was me who noticed your scent first. In fact, I've sensed your presence for quite a while. I thought my mind was playing tricks on me, though. It's been a long time since a human has set foot out here. I didn't think it'd be possible. But this only goes to show I should trust my instincts after all. Your scent may have been obscured by the wind, but it couldn't hide your screams. You may be asking yourself, if I knew you had fallen victim into my trap, why didn't I come to rescue you any sooner? Well, you see, dearie, I first had to decide what I was going to do with you. As much as I would love to watch you hanging there all night long, I have to at least find some use for you. It's not proper etiquette to waste food now, is it? So, I think I'll take you with me for now. I'll determine your fate some other time. Who knows? Maybe you'll make for a nice decoration. You sure are quite the looker. Now, enough idle chatter. I can tell the blood rushing to your pretty little head is starting to take a toll on you. Hold still, dearie. I'll take care of this for you. What is it, dearie? What's with that face? Did you expect me to just let you drop onto the floor? Or are you just now realizing the true nature of what I am? How sweet. And how predictable. In all my years, I haven't met many who weren't afraid of me, and you're no exception. No, do not try to struggle. You wouldn't get very far, trust me. Besides, I'm not in the mood for a chase. Here's what's going to happen. I will carry you back to my humble little abode, and you will behave. Remember, I haven't yet decided what I'm going to do with you, and now that you realize you're dealing with a full-grown vampire, you might want to consider what's best for your neck. Oh, found your words again, did you? Tell me, do you think it's smart to insult me? So far, I've been nothing but hospitable to you. So what are you calling me a monster for? Stop fucking whining. You either come with me, or I'll leave you out here for the wolves to find. Trust me, they'll have a feast. With all that ruckus you've been causing, they're just waiting for the chance to jump at you. A wise decision. I trust you will be a good little human while you're in my arms. Otherwise, I'll have to take advantage of how close your bare skin is to my fangs right now. Understood? Let's get going then. It isn't very far. Though, I'll make one thing very clear. This isn't a gesture of kindness. I am not carrying you to be your knight in shining armor while your head is still spinning. I simply cannot be bothered to reset any more traps that you might trigger if I just let you walk. I got quite a few around here. Besides, I imagine your ankle must hurt after being suspended by it for such a long time. I doubt you want to lose another to a bear trap. Then again, maybe you wouldn't mind. After all, surely you must have known venturing into this forest is a one-way trip. So, if you don't mind losing your life, what's a single leg to you? This makes me wonder, why are you here? What could have possibly made a human desperate enough to wander this deeply into the home of so many vile creatures? I'm guessing your life hasn't been an easy one. Or maybe word got out about a beautiful woman living deep inside the woods, and you just had to go and see for yourself. But I doubt your people are even aware of my existence anymore. Many generations ago, I was feared. Entire towns slept with one eye open after word had gotten around that Luna had made their home her stomping grounds. Surprised to hear my name? It's not like a monster to bear the name of a human, is it? It was given to me by my mother. I was just like you once, you see, a human. No, I I do not intend to bore you with the details of my past. I see what you're trying to do, dearie, and it's not going to work for me. You think you can gain my favor by listening to my stories and keeping me company? That I must be oh so lonely and desperate for someone to talk to? You must have read too many books. Trust me, many have tried to trick me in the same manner, and I will not fall for it again. You're fortunate I won't end you for even trying to deceive me in such a pathetic way. Enough of this. We're here. Welcome to my home. I'll let you down, but do not get too comfortable yet. There's one last thing I need to do before we head inside. You see, I can't stay and watch over you all night. And while I trust the walls and locked doors will keep you inside, I might want to add some insurance. A bit of spilled blood should do nicely. The scent will draw every vicious beast around here towards us. They won't do me any harm. If you should escape, however, you're sure to die as soon as you open the door. So, if you don't mind, why don't you show me your pretty little neck? Would you look at that? Seems our little human has finally decided to join the world of the living again. Did you find your strength again, dearie? It must have been quite an eventful night for you after all. Tell me, does your leg still feel sore? Surely it must hurt. Or perhaps you're more concerned with your neck? A bit of bruising is always to be expected. Besides the puncture marks, of course. I recommend you get used to that feeling. Though, humans never had a reputation for a practically high pain tolerance. Perhaps I ought to be a bit more considerate of how fragile your kind's bodies are. And your minds on top of that. I wouldn't be surprised if you felt a bit disoriented, considering you've been unconscious for quite a while. Oh, please. There's no need to be scared. I don't bite without reason. I wouldn't say no to another sip of your blood, of course, but it would be no fun to overdo it when we've just started. I'd rather save some of the anticipation, the excitement. Don't you agree that there's a certain magic in having to wait? It makes the experience so much more enjoyable. Imagine a child on Christmas Eve who simply can't wait to finally open its presents. All the wrapping paper, colorful bows, the warm lights. As tempting as it may be to tear the paper right off then and there, it is much more rewarding to wait for the right time. Much the same is true for me right now. Except unlike some children, I'd hate to break my new toy so soon. After all, I consider you to be a rare gem, dearie. Not only did you find your way onto my territory, into my trap, you also taste heavenly. The delicate flavor complements each other so perfectly, like an expensive wine. I consider it a sin to waste even a drop of your blood, let alone your life. Trust me, you have no idea how delicious you taste to me after I had to feed on animals for such a long time. It must have been close to 100 years since I last had a mouthful of blood as rich and flavorful as your own. Most likely you think I'm some ruthless monster who lusts for death and destruction. Surely you must question why I don't give up on these woods altogether and go hunting somewhere I can hope to come across humans to feed on. You mortals are so pragmatic like that. Quick to act, quick to judge, but often you fail to see the broader picture. I certainly don't seek your approval, little human. But if I expect you to behave and comply with my rules, I'd at least like to make an attempt to show you my perspective. Why I live the way I do. I've been isolated here for such a long amount of time. I have little knowledge about the state of the world out there. As much as I would like to believe that peace has finally been established between vampires and humans, your reaction upon realizing what I am tells me all I need to know. I've been on both sides of the war. I know the injustice and the cruelty out there. Believe me, dear, it's not just vampires who can commit horrific acts. It's all of us. I've denied you my life story before, when it was clear you were merely trying to manipulate me. But there is a time and a place for reminiscing, and I believe it'll help you understand that I'm no monster. Perhaps it'll ease your nerves a bit to know about your captor, make you less prone to rash decisions and disobedience. If I'm not mistaken, I've mentioned my mother to you before, haven't I? It was just me and her back then. When I was still human, I mean. An innocent child. We lived in a small house near the edge of the village, close by a little stream. We didn't own much, but we were family, and the rich garden my mother tended to daily always put enough food on our plates, and I spent my days climbing trees and chasing small animals. It was the only time in my life I've ever felt truly content. Even now, as I've lived so many years, the carnal pleasure of drinking someone's warm, velvety blood doesn't come anywhere close to the joy I felt simply smelling the flowers or tasting the sweet fruit of the season. My mother was a wise woman. She always knew just what to do. The townsfolk respected her knowledge of the healing powers of all sorts of herbs. The ones who couldn't afford to call a doctor often came to us, with whatever alignments were plaguing them. More often than not, my mother was able to help. You think someone as kind and generous as her would surely earn the favor and gratitude of her peers. But you see, her wisdom came to be her downfall. And by my extension, a famine came around. Man and animal alike had to go hungry for weeks on end. In dire times, people tend to turn towards superstition. The townsfolk suspected witchcraft. And who else would the blame fall upon other than the one who possesses expertise in medicine? They accused my mother of cursing their fields and spoiling their crops. And so they killed her, dragged her out of our home, onto the streets, and ended her life right before my eyes. And all I did was hide. Even then, as a child, I felt like a coward. I've blamed myself for her death for a long time. Told myself if I couldn't have saved her, I at least should have died that day as well. But obviously it never came to that. For better or for worse, I haven't yet decided. With my mother gone, all that was left for me was to run. So I ran, as far as my legs would carry me. I didn't know where I was going. I just wanted to put as much distance as possible between myself and the horrors I'd seen that day. I left behind her body, the home I grew up in, and along with all the beautiful memories that had now been tainted with her blood. I don't remember how long I must have traveled for, but eventually I came across a town. It was much bigger and more lively than the environment I was used to, crowded enough to stay anonymous and keep myself fed by stealing a watch here, a bracelet there. I didn't enjoy being a thief. My mother had taught me better than that, but it was the only way to survive. Over time, I became more comfortable, settled into my new life. The dark alleys of the city, far away from all the crowds and noise, became my new home. For years, I was blissfully unaware who I was sharing my home with, until it was too late. While I knew of the existence of vampires, their numbers and preferred hunting grounds were largely unknown back then. As I understand now, they'd been roaming the streets of that practical town for quite a while. Just like myself, they enjoyed the anonymity of the crowd, the ability to simply take what they needed and vanish. Once again, I believe I was destined to die that day I was turned. It was the vampire's carelessness that led him to spare my life. Had he taken any more of my blood, surely I would have passed away. But instead, I felt a sharp pain spreading throughout my body, starting from the bite marks on my neck. In case you're unaware, a human may only turn into a vampire if they're left with just barely enough blood to survive. When I woke up, nothing was as before. It is customary for a newly turned vampire to receive guidance from the one responsible for their doom. After all, it is no small task to keep a constant craving for blood under control. To not draw attention to yourself and your kin. To not let the monster you've become control you. However, I was never afforded the privilege of being taken in by my master. Even after I approached him, begged him to teach me, he couldn't care less about what he had done to me. I am not proud of the times that followed. I lost control over my hunger, gave in to any little craving, took the lives of so many innocent people. Bloodlust is a curious thing, dearie. Not only does it make you lose control in the moment, it's also an excellent excuse to justify your actions. To drown out any feeling of guilt that may arise when you hold yet another lifeless body in your arms. I lived like that for a long time, taking the lives and never looking back, leaving a trail of blood wherever I went. I was convinced I had the right to alter the lives of so many mortals, simply because of the injustice I had endured in my own. As I know now, I was gravely mistaken. Surely you must wonder what could have possibly changed me. What could have possibly convinced a bloodthirsty monster to live deep inside the forest, almost as dangerous as itself? Even thinking about that night stirs up emotions vampires should be incapable of. I don't remember much of how the night began. The bloodlust drowned out any sensation but the rich, downy blood I felt on my tongue. Suddenly, the crimson-red fog in my mind lifted, and I found myself locking eyes with a small boy cowering in the bushes, my fangs still buried deeply in the flesh of the man before me. The way he was shivering, the look of pure desperation in his eyes, it brought back some of the sanity I thought I'd lost forever ago. And for the first time in years, I realized I was tearing apart families, killing daughters, fathers, loved ones. I'd become just as cruel as the monsters who have taken my mother from me. But I knew it was too late to save the boy's father. He would have never survived to live as a human. If I had stopped drinking his blood right then and there, surely he would have turned. But at what cost? Under no circumstances would I have been a suitable mentor, as I myself was barely clinging to the last bit of humanity that was still intact within me. So, to turn this man into another vampire without a master, roaming the streets, and possibly taking his own son's life as his first meal, I had to kill him. For the first and only time, I consciously ended someone's life. I drank every last drop of his blood, and all the while I couldn't bring myself to take my eyes off that frightened little boy. I wasn't blinded by the thirst. The bloodlust hadn't clouded my judgment. My only excuse, my only way of justifying what has happened is the thought that this was the best possible outcome. I tell myself it was for the better, for the boy's sake, the greater good. And yet, I find myself thinking about him. I wonder what had become of him, what his life was like. I'm certain he must have passed away by now. But I sincerely hope it was his old age that took him. That day, I promised myself. No, I demanded myself to abandon my ruthless way. And I've kept my word. I have lived deep inside this forest ever since. I feed on animals. I keep away from humanity. Until you came along, that is. You see, dearie, you've made me lose my composure. Unburied some dark traits I thought I'd left behind long ago. But now that I've had a taste, I just can't let you leave. I can feel my craving re-emerging from deep within. This curse has long buried its roots further into my soul than I thought. Until I find a way of dealing with it once and for all, you'll be my way of keeping it under control, whether you like it or not. Oh, dear, you're mistaken. I never said I'd refrain from hunting a human ever again. All I promised is that I wouldn't take away another beloved family member. You, however, you decided to wander into my territory. If I don't keep you here, surely you will die by the hands of creatures within these woods. You see, I'm not taking you away from anyone. You were the one who's done this to yourself. Oh, but there's no need to worry. You may be mine now, but I do intend on treating you with the bare minimum of dignity a sentient being deserves. Fortunately for you, that means I won't take your blood again today. I will return shortly. I do believe I hear something struggling in one of my traps. Let's hope it's not one of your friends, dearie. Well, well, well. You've done it again, dearie. Did you enjoy our first rendezvous so much you decided you just had to get caught in another one of my traps? And a bear trap at that. Oh, I can just imagine the amount of pain you must be in. The sharp teeth of its jaws piercing your skin. The sweet smell of your blood saturating the forest floor, seeping through the pine needles. What a delicate combination, like expensive perfume. What a waste. I suppose it can't be helped. But the mere scent is driving me insane. How cute. Seeing you struggle to stay on your feet makes you look even more pathetic than the snare did. I didn't think it'd be possible. What is it, dearie? Are you scared? Why is your heart beating so fast? Is the little human regretting its choices? You see, you may have had a chance to be let go eventually if you had just behaved. Been a good little human like I told you to. Known your place and stayed where I left you. I might have even started to take a liking to you, despite what you are. But no. You just had to try and run away from me at the first opportunity that presented itself, risking your own life in the process, exploiting the little bit of trust I had put into you. And for what? You weren't even aware enough of your surroundings to avoid getting caught again. Believe me, dearie, this is the last time you're gonna try a little stunt like this. Not only will I have to take more severe measures, I doubt you'll be able to comfortably walk, let alone run, anytime soon. Considering what's out there, you should be grateful if a messed up ankle is the worst of what might have happened to you today. I don't expect you to thank me for the fact that you're still alive, of course. Judging by your actions, you wouldn't even begin to understand how fortunate you are. My frequent presence in this area is probably the only reason you've even made it this far without creatures of these woods jumping at you from the bushes. You don't deserve my protection. I let you live after you stumbled onto my territory, even gave you shelter in my home. And in return, I've been met with nothing but disobedience. Trust me, dearie. Your pretty little face can only excuse so much before I lose my patience. My nerves are stretched thin as is, and you'd be well advised to keep a close watch on what you do next. I can deal with you struggling with your insistence to call me a monster. I might even forgive your foolish attempt to escape, if you're lucky. But what I simply cannot accept is when someone draws bad people towards my refuge. This is my sanctuary I've built with my own 2 hands, and I will not have my home taken away from me by mortals ever again. That's right. The creature I found in my trap just a little while ago. It was no wolf. no woodland creature. It was a human. I was merely joking when I said it might be one of your friends, but it seems I was closer to the truth than I had imagined. Not to worry, though. You'll still have my full attention, dearie. As you might be able to tell by the state of my clothes, she won't be much of a problem anymore. I didn't plan on bringing home another mortal, and this one was especially unpleasant. If I had to guess, I'd assume she had done worse to my kind than all the vile beasts who call this place their home combined. So what makes you think I'll let you get away with what you've done, abusing my hospitality the way you did? I should have known better than to trust a mortal, but you should have known better than to betray me. Why are you acting so surprised? Wipe that look off your face, dearie. You know exactly what you have done. A second human just happening upon my property? 2 mortals finding my exact location within little more than a day, after not a single soul has set foot here in hundreds of years? Don't be ridiculous. Even you realize how unlikely it is for it to be a coincidence. You must have lost your mind to believe you can outsmart me. So tell me, did you lead her here on purpose? Is this part of some grand scheme to reclaim vampire territory? I'm more than certain you know her, so let me help your memory a bit. She's about this tall, wears an expensive cloak, screams when bitten. Oh, and she's dead. I took every last drop of her blood. You can't even imagine how good it felt not having to hold back after so long. It was a feast to bury my fangs into her neck so deeply with no regard for the damage it might cause. She didn't taste nearly as good as you do, but I believe I've mentioned this to you before. I don't like wasting food. I don't regret my choices. Looking at how even you, despite seeming so innocent, refuse to behave. Whatever is left of her, I'm sure the wildlife will take care of it. The forest doesn't reject a male, and the scent of freshly drawn blood is sure to intrigue it. But neither do I. Give me one good reason why you shouldn't be punished for this. After all, who knows how many more to follow? Stop it. Stop your whining and your pathetic excuses. You've got one more chance to let me know who sent you, who sent her. Tell me the truth, or you won't like the consequences. I've told you quite a bit of who I am, where I came from, the people I've hurt. It'd be quite easy to add yet another to the list. Still refusing? Oh, dearie. You're making a grave mistake. With every passing moment, you're becoming weaker and weaker. And yet your neck looks more and more appetizing. I may have drank my fill, but I wouldn't mind some dessert. I've always had a bit of a sweet tooth. You'd make for a fine treat. If it wasn't for the blood on your leg beginning to dry, who knows whether I'd be able to hold back at all. You'd do well to change your mind before it's too late, dearie. Very well. If I can't convince you with my words, maybe my actions will yield results. I won't kill you, of course. That'd be foolish. Dead men tell no tales, after all. The pain of turning, however, the excruciating feeling of your body dying, every muscle feeling like it's being torn apart and put back together in a new arrangement, your brain rewiring itself to crave nothing but the warm, velvety, smooth sensation of blood against your lips. Now that might be just about enough to persuade you to tell me the truth, so I may have mercy on you and end your miserable existence right then and there. Your only option at this point is to start talking. Consider this your last chance. Don't blame me. You've brought this upon yourself. Just as delicious as the first taste. Seems your luscious flavor simply didn't stem from the sense of novelty after all, my dear. It'd be a pleasure to drink every single ounce of blood left in your body. And since you've lost quite a bit already, I'd advise you to keep that in mind. I can tell your knees are starting to turn quite weak, and I don't blame you. Even though the same can't be said about your stubbornness. Seems I'll have to help myself to another bite. You're a tough one. You don't know when you're looking death right in the eye, do you? Don't overestimate yourself. There's not much more you can endure, dearie. Believe me, I know exactly when it's time to stop. And that moment has passed a long time ago. Damn it. If the promise of death more painful than burning alive isn't enough to get you to talk, then nothing will. Or maybe you really are telling the truth. In which case... Fuck. There's no way that could be true, but... One last time, dearie. Are you telling the truth? She really followed you against your will? Hey, don't go limp on me now. Come on, don't pass out. Answer me. Huh? You're awake. Thank the Lord. Stay down. There's no need to panic. I know it's hard to believe after how I behaved, but I will not hurt you again. Just keep laying down. You're weak and injured. You'll worsen your condition if you try to stand up. Thank you. I could tell you don't trust in the peace, but I don't blame you for it. But please, if you're able, try to settle down a bit. I can hear your heartbeat, and at this rate, you might pass out again. You were right, you know. When you called me a monster, I mean. I spoke of remorse, of treating you the way a sentient being deserves. And yet I turn around at the minor inconvenience and let my instincts control me once more. I know it's no excuse. I can't blame all of my actions on my vampirism. It's a curse, a disease, but still, it shouldn't control me. After all this time, I should have gained the willpower to keep it under lock and key. I let history repeat itself time and time again. It's like I'm unable to learn from my mistakes. I apologize. I know an apology doesn't make up for the harm I've caused, but still, I truly, sincerely apologize. I told myself if I couldn't let you go, I'd at least harm you as little as possible. And now look at what I've done. I've drank more of your blood than I probably should have. It's close to a miracle that you're still alive. Well, alive as a human, that is. I was worried I might have gone beyond the point of no return and passed my curse on to you. But it seems you just barely scraped past a fate worse than death. I don't expect your forgiveness. When I saw that other human, I lost all rational train of thought. She yelled some incoherent things about being led here on account of a hint, cursed at me, acted like I had to bow before her, and before either of us knew it, she was dead. I haven't had such a large amount of blood in centuries. It was more than enough to cover my senses in that red veil of bloodlust and blind rage that I used to experience so often. When I finally pulled myself away from the temptation and anger, it was almost too late. I should have believed in your words, dearie. I should have known that you hadn't conspired with this mortal who seems to bring nothing but evil with her. Your words seem truthful, dearie. Now that I can see with a clear mind, I realize this. Being followed by such a villainous person might be just about the only reason you'd even consider setting foot into these woods. Who is she? A bounty hunter? Assassin? An executioner, even? Whichever may be the case, she must have been more than determined to track you down. There's no way she'd take such a risk to simply catch a thief. The price on your head must be more than handsome. There's no reason to shy away, dearie. I have no use for gold. Even the most abundant riches or shimmering diamonds are no use for someone like me. I thought about what I should do while you were sleeping. I don't simply want to tell you how deeply I regret what I've done. I want to show it to you, despite what I think of the mortal race. Prying open that bear trap and wrapping your wounds may be a start, but it won't be enough to just stop you from wanting to escape again. I've played with the thought of letting you go once you've recovered, but I doubt that's a good idea. If your pursuer was relentless enough to follow you here, then I'm certain more are to come. And besides, this doesn't mean I've abandoned my original intentions for your use to me. I need you, so I may keep my cravings under control. A lack of blood after what I've consumed today may cause me to lose myself completely all over again. So all I have to offer you is this place to hide, far away from the rest of humanity, as well as my protection from any mortals who may find their way here. I don't care who you were or what you did in the human world. It doesn't matter to me why she was after you, whether it was well-founded or not. You are mine now. You'll belong to me for the foreseeable future. I see no use in letting you run straight into the arms of certain death. You taste too good to go to waste over whatever these humans deem to be justice. So until I find a way to break my curse and won't require your services anymore, welcome. Make yourself right at home. For now.